Okay, welcome back yet again, friends, strangers, and enemies. So, it has been a while since I've done anything reaction-wise. I think the last thing that we did was the Amazing Digital Circus thing, or, wait, no. I think it was the Courage the Cowardly Dog thing that Uwu person recommended that I take a look at. Honestly, I didn't really want to do very much reaction content for this channel. I said that I would try it out once in a blue moon if I found something I was interested in checking out, but, yeah. This time around, we do have something like that. This is 5 films that are way more disturbing than a Serbian film, and yeah, if anybody knows what a Serbian film is, that is one of the most disturbing movies of all time. Like, it's pretty deranged, the stuff that goes on in that film. Although, I actually have seen quite a few disturbing films in my time. Some things that come to mind are Guinea Pig, that slasher series from Japan. It's highly brutal. It was actually mistaken as a snuff film by Charlie Sheen at one point. At least the second movie was, anyway. They ended up getting more ridiculous as the series went on. There was also Anthropophagus, which was a Italian film, which was another slasher film. It had to do with a crazy cannibal on an island that had quite a few intense scenes in it. Let's see, what other disturbing movies have I seen in my time? Nekromantik, second film anyway. Saw bits and pieces of that at one point. And there's this other movie that's lesser known, which is kind of fucked up. It's a movie called Headless. I don't know if any of these films are going to be listed here. I mean, highly doubt that Headless is going to be on the list. That one is very obscure, and that one's... you would only really know about that if you've seen the movie Found, which I did see at one point. I actually made the mistake of watching that when I was sick with coronavirus. And yeah, being cooped up in the house for 2 weeks and watching that movie, that was, yeah. Pretty heavy on the soul. Anyway, let's check this out. I'm curious to see what movies he has here. Alright. 5 films that are way more disturbing than a Serbian film.
When I initially thought of this video idea, I thought, oh man, this is going to be so good. This is really going to take the channel up a notch when it comes to the disturbing content. Like, we're going to talk about some real stuff here, some real sick, twisted things, and I can finally get back at all of those people who comment, wow, you're not talking about
Sounds like fun.
You're not talking about this, you're not talking about that. And I'm going to show you there's worse movies out there than a Serbian film. I really just don't know why I didn't take into the account that I was going to have to watch these movies.
That comes with the job.
That was an oversight. A bad one.
Yeah. So let me, fix this window real quick. Shrink that down a little bit.
Good evening, campers, dreamers, and babysitters. And yes, the title is no exaggeration. I have made it my mission to seek out 5 films that I can firmly say after watching them are more disturbing than the biggest, baddest, most disturbing film of all for most of us, a Serbian film. Yes, this movie is kind of infamous for being that one movie that gets talked about, passed around. I feel like if you're a horror enthusiast, one way or another, you end up at least hearing about this movie, reading it about it on IMDb or Wikipedia. It's pretty famous for being the most disturbing, most messed up movie there is. With that, I do want to preface this by saying that these are more extreme disturbing films than I've really talked about on this channel before. So if you have kind of been around and you've been seeing some of my lists, this is going to be very much in the like upper echelon of just like the stuff that I don't even like to talk about when it comes to disturbing horror films. This
I think I can just, again, handle quite a bit.
Let's I thought just would be an interesting topic for a video. And yeah, so if this isn't really your bag, just be warned that we're going to talk about some really gross stuff, some really, really uncomfortable stuff, and it's going to be basically every pick. So just understand that it's just going to get worse and worse as we climb, especially when we get to that number 1 pick. Oh, God.
Naturally.
It's going to be a chore to edit.
Gotta save the worst for last, right?
If you could do me a favor, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you feel we deserve it. It'll at least help balance us out because I have a feeling that YouTube is not going to let me monetize this video. So Fingers crossed, we'll see what we can get away with, but if you guys can help me get this thing out there so it can at least materialize in some new subscribers and at least do well with the viewers, that would mean the world to me. Starting off with my number 5 pick, we
All right, what do we got?
2015's Headless.
What, for real? Huh?
Okay. From the film Found.
Yeah, I just said the same thing.
Abducts and tortures helpless women. Now he needs only one more victim. Will her blonde-haired head end up as the killer's latest trophy? So this film is interesting because if you don't know anything about...
Yeah, like I said, this movie is pretty out there. It's very graphic. It's got quite a few nasty scenes in it, but honestly, I can handle gore and shit like that. I grew up watching horror films, but I think the one scene that bothered me most in this, and I don't know if it was real or not, there was a particular scene where the killer's mother, and this was in a flashback, she was cooking a rabbit, and I do not know if it was a prop or what. It looked pretty damn real. She was mutilating this rabbit, forced the kid to eat the head, and yeah, that's... out of all the demented stuff that happened in this film, I think that's the part that fucked with me the most when I saw it. I'm sure he's going to talk about a couple of the other scenes that come up in this film. I'll just play the video. We'll just listen to what he has to say.
Out Headless, like it kind of says in that description there, this is actually kind of like a movie within a movie. There was a movie in 2012 called Found, which is also a pretty disturbing flick that we'll probably...
more so disturbing, actually. Found is actually worse
and it's
than Headless.
Pretty interesting in those aspects, because, you know, you watch one movie and you hear people talking about it, those kids are kind of obsessed with it in that film. So watching this, it's kind of a surreal experience. But this movie is pretty messed up. And, you know, I didn't expect anything less when we're talking about the people who made Found. But this just takes the elements from Found and kind of, you know, supercharges them in a sense. Essentially, we just have the skull mask killer who is, as the description said very accurately, running around and murdering, abusing, and
well, at least he gets killed in Found.
Many
like, that's the one saving grace about that one.
That in kind of the
spoiler alert.
You know, no holds bar, absolutely in your face, most extreme way possible. There's a lot of really gross gross torture sequences in this. The effects team went really, really off the chain here.
Necrophilia
was showing quite a bit. Now, there's this kind of, again, grindhousey kind of old cinema approach to it that does make it at times a bit more like under a bit, I don't even want to say like you can watch it, but like it makes it a bit more watchable because at least it still feels like it's a movie at times, maybe just more of a snuff film. But yeah, there's a lot of really tough elements to this.
Well, and again, it's again, I think the rabbit scene is the worst part about it.
Like your stereotypical kind of torture horror film, like a Saw movie, it goes pretty deep, and kind of the big reference point that the boys from Found really take away from this film is something that I was, of course, anticipating, and that is that our killer has a very specific fetish for having sex with the headless. Like heads, the heads.
Yeah.
And he penetrates that.
Yeah.
It's in your face. You see a lot of it, and yeah, it's something, man. This is certainly, again, probably the most watchable film on this list. This is probably the most obtainable. Again, there's a little bit of that kind of separation between this being a film within a film and kind of the way they present it. But it's still very disturbing, very in-your-face nonetheless. This is a very unforgiving film. This, just like everything else on this list, is going to get all severes if you look at the content ratings on IMDb. So, yeah, Headless, definitely go in with your, guard up if you're not used to this kind of stuff, because this is quickly going to devolve into something that it's going to leave you a little shook. Moving on into my number 4 pick.
We got Guinea Pig on the list.
Necromantik. A street sweeper.
Okay,
He
that's,
after grisly accidents, brings home a full corpse for him and his wife.
Yeah, I've never seen this one. I saw the second one, but,
that his wife prefers the corpse over him.
Yeah, and that's 2 for 2, so they gotta have Guinea Pig on this list at some point.
This is too much. Like, this is wild, guys. Like, okay, this movie is pretty infamous. I mean, this is one of those ones that gets brought up a lot for people who are talking about disturbing, messed up movies. Because, yeah, it totally deserves that title. Nekromantik is certainly a very gross movie in its concept alone. And, you know, just out of that, you think, man, they're going to be fooling around with corpses. They're going to be fooling around with dead bodies. They're already these sick, twisted people. They're going to be murdering people. But, you know, it just gets worse. I don't know how that's possible, but it just seemingly got a lot worse. Once we get down to the actual acts of this, the way they kind of simulate them...
Not sure if I would say this is more disturbing than a Serbian film, though.
Which is very rotten, I must say. This thing, there's not much left there. It's just uncomfortable, and I don't like how, like, into it they get. Like, the actors are doing a very bang-up job of selling this, and it's, you know, on the lower budget side, so it really does, again, kind of have this feeling of not necessarily not being realistic, but just kind of uncanny, and
well, it's distasteful,
really,
but it's
really gross in concept.
Yeah.
Again. But what's even more shocking is that there is some mutilation of the lower areas, I should say, of our people here, and you know, I thought that I saw a good amount of that in Antichrist, but you get a little bit.
They had a scene like that in Serbian film as well. I had
I don't know how
what the hell's the main character's name?
It's a lot of that. Now, the story
cute
as a
rabbit.
whole, there's really, again, not a whole lot here to grab onto for it. I think that the concept of them exploring this fetish is interesting, but they really just lean into the shock value of it. There's really not much on the surface for our characters to dive into. It's also German, so it's one of those things where it's like, I guess maybe I'm having a bit of a detachment with having to go through the subtitles and everything. But this is a movie that, again, it's pretty well known. People understand that this is a very, very gross movie, but I still think it lives up to it. And in a lot of ways, I do say that it's a bit more intense than a Serbian film, just because of kind of this whole last
Just
act.
noticed that the
thing that really pushes it
stream
over for
chat
me
was in the
is
way.
the fact that, you know, in a Serbian film, that's all simulated. There's nothing there that's not, you know, simulated. You know, it's for the film. There is some debate about this part, so I will only say this because there's debate about it, but there's some animal deaths in this movie, and apparently one of them, the one involving the rabbit, is, from what I can find, is saying that it actually happened, so they actually did kill a rabbit on screen for this.
Okay, yeah, that's
fun. I don't like that. Nobody really likes that in their movies.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Romantic, definitely something I won't watch again. It's just weird, it's gross, and yeah, the whole, like I said, the whole last half of this movie is just...
I'm surprised he didn't bring that up for the
mutilating
Headless
each other,
movie.
just having the sexual pleasure of just ripping each other apart. It's awful. It's really quite a tough watch. And taking my number 3 spot, we have
Guinea Pig got 3 for 3?
2009's Angel's Melancholy. Two friends
Okay,
meet again
no.
to share their last days.
Never even heard of this one.
Where everything happened a long time ago. They gather a group
Which,
of people.
that's good. I mean,
adults,
it'd seem like I
disastrous
pre-watched this if I
events,
predicted
during
everything.
which reveals the deepest human depths. Angel's Melancholy or The Angel's Melancholy, is certainly the longest movie on this list, and with that comes a lot of downtime. Yeah, there's a lot of moments in this movie where it really seems like nothing is going on. There is some very thin semblance of a story going on throughout this film, and it's mostly just about these two guys who are kind of like reuniting. They have some kind of, you know, I guess you want to call it almost godly kind of purpose. They're not natural humans, or at least they believe that they're not natural humans. And one of them believes that he is going to be dying soon, so they're like, we need to, you know, kind of go out on top and do what it is we do. And we find out what that is. And it involves basically rounding up a bunch of people, in this case some women, at a bar, taking them out to a cabin, and doing a bunch of horrible stuff to them. It's people peeing on bodies, burned bodies. It's people drinking pee. It's
Oh,
people
God.
sticking stuff up their butts. It's people messing with dead animals, which, again, this is another one, very fun fact for you. They actually
No.
did harm
No.
animals in the making of this film,
Christ's
so
sake.
that's another great thing to keep in your mind. And, yeah, just lots of really brutal, unconsensual minglings of folks.
Alright, so I guess animal cruelty laws
that
don't
basically just evolved
apply in Germany or
from that
wherever the fuck
to
this is from.
then beating the crap out of
Like, that is
murdering
a
and
German
assaulting
title, right?
at least one of these women.
I know
all over
Nekromantik
the
was
place.
German.
And why? I don't know. I do not know. The story, there just really isn't much of one. It really just seems like they were kind of going along, making this up as they go, and the only thing that they had in mind was like, well, we're going to do shocking stuff to shock people. And again, that just comes to a lot of people just defiling, doing horrible things to each other, lots of bodily fluids being shared back and forth. Again, very non-consensually, very, very gruesomely, and it's also just a lot of stuff involving animals getting messed with and fooled with. This is the most.
I think that's the
I don't
part
wanna say
that
the most grueling watch. On
that's
this
the
list,
worst
because
for
it's
me.
only number
Like,
3, but this is certainly one where I was just sitting here.
I can handle a bit of gore here and there, but animal cruelty, I don't buy
It's
it.
like, guys, this is boring. This is painful. I had to like put it higher on this list.
Directors probably deserve to get shot.
I was really just bored through most of it, and then when things were shocking and they were happening, it was just awful. Like, there's at least some semblance of a story in Headless. There's at least some semblance of a story in Nekromantik. You know, here there's nothing, and it's just pretty unforgivable for that. Okay, now we're getting into the real serious stuff.
Oh, joy.
Number 2 pick, which is 1974's Wedding Trough. An allegoric.
Wait, hold on. What the fuck was that? Did I read that right? The pig You know, okay, yeah. Let's hear what he has to say.
An allegoric male character falls in love with his pig. If The Angel's Melancholy was like an endurance test of just watching an overly long, boring, just out there piece of cinema that just doesn't really, again, have much of a semblance of anything other than the torture and just the gore stuff, this is, you could easily see this movie being used in camps to torture people. I can say I've never quite seen a movie like this before, where it's, again, not much of a semblance of a story, and there's no, like, dialogue in the movie at all. It's just watching a man on his farm, and he falls in love with his pig. And
okay, 1974, that's,
You can guess what happens. And you see it. You get to watch that.
thought stuff was more
And
regulated back in the
fucking
60s and 70s.
It is awful. I was so uncomfortable. I skipped through a lot of those sequences. And it gets a lot worse. Because, yeah, this basically devolves into not the goriest film on this list, but he goes so far as to messing around doing this stuff with his pig for a while, and then the pig has babies. It has little pig babies, and, you know, what do you do with the piglets? Or wait a second, where did the piglets come from?
How?
So,
Exactly, how?
His babies. He raises them, he takes care of them, and then just out of nowhere, one day he gets fed up and he decides, I'm just going to hang them. Yes, he strings up the babies, kills them, the pig sees it, dies of a broken heart, and then he has to bury her, and then he just starts eating his own shit.
Oh God.
That's the movie. So yeah, no, guys, this is this is seriously a movie that's designed to just make you go insane, I think, because there's, again, no story here other than what I just explained, and the worst part of all of this, the part that really set this up as needing to be on this list for me, was
worse than the...
when I found out after doing some research that other than, I guess, a handful of sequences...
Don't tell me, they used an actual pig. They fucked an actual pig in the movie.
All of the animal violence in this is real, and the sex that he has with his pig is real. I've looked a couple different things up on this, trying to get multiple different answers. Some people say that part is simulated too, but most of what I've found says that no, they actually did fool around with his pig. And you know what? It's pretty easy to see.
And this isn't, like,
very much
illegal?
when you watch this. And I can say with full certainty that this is something that's not going to leave my head anytime soon when I think of things that just got me really close to gagging. This movie is fucking disgusting.
I haven't even seen it, and I'm ready to gag.
Not only just the animal stuff, the animal violence, but just...
I was once saying I had a strong stomach. Well, for the horror and the gore and stuff, but, like...
music. That if this was, like, not...
fucking animals and eating shit, yeah, that's...
Animal violence in
ugh.
general, and he wasn't eating his own fecal matter, there could be some, like, goofiness to this.
Ow!
But I'm serious when I say that this is like a movie.
I had my headphones turned up all the way.
to get them to give you information. Like this is that wild and that out there of a film. I highly recommend you don't ever watch this. It's gruesome, it's nonsensical, and it's truly one of the, like, oddest experiences I've ever seen in a film. Okay, and for my number one film that I would say without a doubt is worse than a Serbian film, more disturbing, more shocking, and pretty much more gruesome, I have to go with...
How are you going to top the last one?
Trauma. 4 friends partying in a house in the middle of nowhere are brutally attacked by a man and his son, forcing the remaining women to take revenge upon them. Alright, so,
okay, that doesn't sound too bad.
I thought that's my number one. There's not going to be anything else that just...
Yeah, how do you beat that? Like, I'm curious.
Up than that movie. Again, Angel's Melancholy has a lot of really messed up stuff, but there's just so much junk and filler in there that it's tough to get through. Headless is gruesome, but at least has, you know, some semblance of this still being a movie. You can feel that. And then, you know, obviously, friggin' Nekromantik is just, you know, it is what it is. It's still a movie. It's still got those effects that don't just look top-notch enough to really sell me on the fact that it's a full-blown dead body. This movie, however, has some content in it that I found pretty excruciating to watch, and it's really affects me because something in a Serbian film that does is there's a lot of stuff involving children in that
yeah
movie. There's a specific element involving a baby, and once again, this is a film that also involves a baby, and it's somehow worse here in my mind, because watching this, being a father who... I have a 2-year-old, for those of you who may be stumbling across this was... the sequence that happens is so baffling. It's so fucked up. I really do have regret for coming across and watching this. I do. There's the cries and the screams of that child alone will live in my head for all of eternity in the darkest places. Beyond that, this film is really just hitting you in the throat from frame one. We see people, boys who have to, bang. They have to fornicate with their own mother while she's tied to a chair. Then they're being forced to by a bunch of soldiers, and then their mother's head is blown off.
No, bit off topic. That actually reminds me of another disturbing film that I've seen before. Girl Next Door. That had similar subject matter, where a girl was forced against her will to be abused by the neighborhood kids, and yeah, that's it's as bad as it sounds. Don't watch it. But, yeah, this one doesn't seem like it would be as bad as the previous one, that pig fucking movie, whatever the fuck it was called. That I don't know, just for the animal cruelty, the poop play, and all that shit. That's yeah, I don't know. As disturbing as some of the scenes from Serbian film are, like he's talking about here, apparently has something similar to it in this one. You can at least it's fake. As fucked up as it is, at least it's all special effects and it's fake. I honestly think I would have put the other one a bit higher on this list, but hey, each their own. I can empathize with the guy, though. You have a 2-year-old kid, that would hit a little bit closer to home. So, yeah. Let's get back to it.
Mid that, then the movie kind of starts, and we see these women who are just going to this house. They're celebrating, enjoying their time, and then just these people show up, and they just start doing awful things to them too. And they don't shy away from showing things. There's a lot of sexual abuse in this, but there's also just a lot of violence. And aside from a handful of it being really shitty looking CGI blood, the rest of it is barbaric. It is certainly on the same level, like I said, a bit more intense than a Serbian film when it comes to this. I hate this movie. I do. I truly think that this is one of the worst cinematic experiences I have ever had in my life. Primarily because of that scene. But again, this is one of those.
Does it have a better,
just meant to test
better ending though? I mean, do the women come out victorious?
All of these movies, in some way or another, are. This one, I don't know why, but it hit me in a very, very primal spot of just saying enough is enough. It could have been the build-up of having to watch all of these because this was the last one I watched, but this was a whole nother level for me, guys. This was a tough one. This was certainly something that I set out with the best intentions of doing this and thinking I'd have a little bit more fun than I did, but I certainly went and uncovered some disturbing pieces of cinema, if you could call
yeah,
it.
for real.
Again, trauma is something that I was not a big fan of, clearly. I don't think I ever really even want to find myself discussing that in any great detail from here on out, at least not for a while. I need some detachment from it. Wedding Trough is beyond despicable and disgusting.
That would have been number one for me, honestly.
A bunch of horrific shit involved. At least I can say the first two with Headless and Nekromantik are at least still feel like movies. They don't feel like fucking borderline snuff films. But yeah, nothing too fun on this list, I can say. Nothing that I'm really eager to get back into the swing of things with. Now, if you guys like this video, I will space it out a bit more. I won't do all of these in such a quick succession, but I can turn this into a series. I might have to enlist the help of my cohort Luke to help me get through some of these, but I would really be curious to see, like, if there are more that I can throw towards this. Maybe do this every once in a while, because again, these are very extremely disturbing films, and they take a lot out of you to watch, especially if you have a conscience, like I do. And yeah, I don't recommend anybody seek these out. These are completely go at your own risk. Half of these you can't even find, you can't buy them off Amazon. You have to literally either get a pirated copy or you have to go to the Internet Archive to find them. So that's on you. If you want to experience any of this, Godspeed. You know, you were warned. But yeah, that's gonna wrap it up here for me. If you guys could at least do me the biggest favor and ease my suffering a bit by, again, giving this video a big like, sending it around, making sure that the algorithm gods of YouTube don't completely bury it because of what I'm talking about, and I would madly appreciate it. So that's going to wrap it up.
Well, ask and ye shall receive.
We have a lot more stuff on the channel right now. Lots of fun videos and more fun reviews, news, and all kinds of great stuff coming your way, all in the love and appreciation of horror, and more to come in the future. So again, thank you for watching this. Thanks for helping me get through this video. And yeah, I hope I'll see you next time. But until then, I'm Dylan Newell, and remember, stay scared.
Alright, we'll do. We'll give this guy a like and a subscribe. There we go. Yeah. Amusing. Yeah, that was something. I'm actually surprised that he put Headless on the list. That was the one film that I didn't expect him to take a look at, just because of the fact that that is a lesser-known movie, and like he and I both said, you would have to have seen Found to even know about that film, because it is a film within a film. As for Nekromantik, I, again, have seen the second one. Figured he would have talked about one of those films. I did not know about any of these other films, and I do not think I needed to know about them. Although, honestly, Trauma, that, kind of curious to know who wins out in the end, if it's going to be good or evil that wins out. If it is the former, then I don't see how it could be as disturbing as a Serbian film, because nobody wins in that situation. Like, everybody dies. Main character, his family, all dead. Dead, raped, they're done. But, yeah, if you can overcome the trauma and kill the evil, like, I have a feeling that Trauma may be a little less disturbing than a Serbian film. Can't remember that other one that he was talking about, that Angels, whatever, and I think it was just because I was recoiling in horror because of that pig fucking movie. That, like, why? Why does something like that have to exist? It was, yeah. Probably gonna have to fix myself a drink after this. Did not need to know that that existed. And all the animal cruelty. What the fuck is wrong with people? Like, it's like I said before, I guess they don't have those kinds of laws over in Germany or wherever the hell that movie was made. But, yeah, have a fucking conscience. Differentiate between reality and fantasy. You don't need to massacre innocent animals on screen. Nobody wants to see that shit. You know, unless you're sadistic. But, I don't know, maybe you are. I don't fucking know. But, yeah, that, quite literally left a bad taste in my mouth, and I think we're gonna wrap things up here. But, yeah, with all that being said, here endeth the reaction. Hopefully I will see you guys on a later occasion, and, as always, stay groovy.